Hi, everybody. Dennis and Julie. Dennis Prager, Julie Hartman. Great to be with you. Great to be with you, Julie. On a super duper serious note. Can I begin on a super serious note? I'm not kidding. Would you rather begin on something lighter?
I was actually going to begin with how much fun we have.
Oh, that's hilarious.
In this studio. But sure, we can start with something
That
serious.
is worth noting. But I will, and it is not sexist or misogynistic to note, that a major reason you have so much fun with all of us here is that it's all male.
I know. We started a recent Dennis and Julie.
I know we did.
By talking about that.
It's okay. It is worth noting. Generally speaking, there are female exceptions and male exceptions. Granted, I'm married to a female exception. But generally speaking, men are easier.
I mean, it's true. I can't argue with it. No, we have so much fun here, and it's such stupid fun. Like, maybe we can put up a
They're
video
not
of it.
stupid fun. It's just fun.
It's a little stupid fun. Male fun is different than female fun.
Totally.
Male fun is totally stupid.
So that is interesting. I don't even know what female fun is. I'm not joking.
Truthfully, I don't really
Okay,
either.
it was a perfectly apt point that I made.
It exists.
I can't even
think.
When women work together, are they cracking themselves up?
No.
Exactly.
No.
So that's why I said I don't know what female fun is in that regard.
You know, I think the best form, and as you know, and as we talk about on the show all the time, I'm really lucky to have many, many close female friends.
And they're wonderful friends.
Yes, and I have a great time with them. And we do laugh. I'm going to take that back. With some of my friends, we're very silly. But I think real female fun is when you feel emotional connection.
Huh?
I know, guys just don't.
All right, for the record, I have deep emotional connection to Sean.
Yes.
I'm looking at him.
It shows every day. No, but like girl fun is when you feel really like connected to the person and like you're opening up and you're having this deep conversation. Male fun, I come here, I just want to tell people what was going on today.
Yeah, what was going on today?
I walked into the control room. And Alejo and Tony were putting like a girl's wig on you.
That's right.
Like a graphic of a girl's wig. And they were spending like 20 minutes. Like just
it wasn't
zooming
20.
in, trying
it was 5 minutes.
Whatever, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Girls would never do that.
No.
That is total boy humor.
That's
and
true.
It was hilarious.
You know what is an example of that? Did you ever hear of the Three Stooges?
On this show, you told me about it.
Oh, that was how you heard about it?
Yes.
So and you haven't watched it since, correct?
No, unfortunately
So much for my
not.
influence on Julie. Nevertheless, that's a great example. I don't know of, again, there's always the outlier, but I don't know a female who thinks the Three Stooges is funny, just silly. But watching these guys or the Marx Brothers, it's another thing. I would be very curious to see your reaction to the Marx Brothers. But putting all of that aside, it's a different world, and it is a lot of fun, generally speaking, with the guys here. So you're lucky in that sense.
I'm so lucky. I will say quickly, and we were talking about this before the show. Girls can really be silly with each other. For instance, when I was a senior, my entire roommate group, we dressed up for Halloween as the cast of Shrek, and I was Donkey. Do you know Shrek? See, you're telling me about the Marx Brothers and about the Three Stooges.
Right.
Do you know Shrek?
Do you know Shrek? Sean, do you know Shrek?
Does Dennis not know Shrek?
I know the name.
Okay, well then this will mean nothing to you. I dressed up as Donkey.
No, all right, but it'll mean a lot to everybody
suit,
else.
Like head, like above me as Donkey.
And
it was just stupid.
No, that's fine. I believe that. But all right, anyway, tell me why I should know Shrek. I don't know much popular culture.
Shrek is an ogre. I just love how this is the first 10 minutes of Dennis and Julie. Shrek is an ogre, and he lives, I honestly haven't seen it so long. He lives in a swamp, and he has a best friend that's a donkey, and he just like has all these crazy adventures.
So you know what I will comment on?
What?
And don't dismiss it till you hear my thinking. your pronunciation of that animal. Donkey. Okay.
Did I say donkey?
No, you said donkey.
Okay, thank God.
So I want to know how you spell donkey.
Donkey.
Spell monkey.
I feel like
it's not a trick. It's not a riddle.
Monkey. Right.
So why is donkey, but monkey is not monkey?
Okay.
I'm serious. When I grew up in the New York area, we said donkey, just like we say monkey. Mm-hmm. I don't like New York accent, and I tried to get rid of it, and I have largely succeeded.
You have.
Not 100%, but largely. But I will defend the Easterner on that one. Mm. If monkey is monkey, why isn't donkey? Why is it donkey and monkey? Fair?
Very fair.
Okay, just thought I'd say that.
Someone was recently telling me about the differences in the way people say the word been. Say it.
Been. You say bean?
I've been or I've been. Some people say sort of like bin.
That's what I just said.
I know.
I've been to France.
I say it like the name Ben. You say bin, like trash bin.
Wait, you say Ben?
I've been to the store.
That's awesome that I have not picked up on that.
I know.
I've been.
Yeah.
I'm so attuned to language. That fascinates me. Which do you think is correct?
Well, I have a preference for my way of saying it.
Yeah, but
Ben. But bin is probably right.
I've been. Sean, what do you say? Bin.
So
maybe is it possible that it is only Julie's family that says Ben?
No. People say it.
Really?
Yes.
I've been there.
So
has been. Who says has been? No, I have been. That means like I have a friend named Ben. All right. Anyway, yeah.
So as you know, the book that you recommended to me, the Story of Language by Mario Pai, has had an amazing influence on me. It is so interesting, and I've done shows on Timeless about it for those who are interested. But I've recently been going online and looking.
Well, you just said Ben. You didn't say Ben.
Did I say Ben?
She did say I've recently been.
What?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've been.
That was Ben.
I know that was Ben.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm.
Okay, go
it.
ahead. Yeah.
I've been looking up some videos on language and on accents, and one of the things I've learned is that one of the many effects of the internet is that it has made American accents generally more homogenous and less varied.
What has made American?
The internet. I've been doing some research on this. Because
interesting.
Think about it, with social media,
so you think that people in Boston today
they don't have as much of
their Boston accent?
I think so.
And in the South, they're dropping their Southern accent?
I think so.
By the way, on the record, I think it's a loss.
I think it's a loss, too.
I love these accents.
I think it's very charming to encounter someone who has a different accent.
Yad. Right?
Yes.
No, that's an example.
I met some of those people with very strong Boston accents when I was there, but they're few and far between.
Do you know, this will fascinate you in light of this. So do you know who was considered, because when I went into talk radio, I was very interested in not having my New York accent and in talking as American and English as exists, if there's such a thing. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's a bias. So I was told that the quintessential American accent is Nebraska. And they gave the example of Johnny Carson, who was from Nebraska.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so every time I would watch Johnny, you know who Johnny Carson is?
Oh, I do know that much.
All right.
Probably
don't know.
not more than that.
It's embarrassing. I didn't know Shrek, but you know Johnny Carson.
I know like one thing about Johnny Carson.
What?
That he was famous and a talk show host, right? That's literally all I know.
Oh, that's it? Yeah. Well, he was the nighttime talk show.
Right.
The country watched Johnny Carson. I think it's worth noting, this is a sidebar, but that's what we do for a living. But it is worth noting, and this is a serious point, to this day, I don't know what Johnny Carson's politics were. He thought it was his duty, having the night show, to bring joy to the average American after a tough day.
Yes.
That was his entire raison d'etre, his reason for being. Then the left took over and destroyed nighttime TV, just as it has destroyed everything that it touches. You no longer have that. There is no concept of my task as a talk show host at night is just to bring people some joy after a tough day. No, my task is to fill you with hate for conservatism.
Well, you have observed this, so I have to give you credit for it. But you said that one of the reasons you think that many of these Oscar speeches and Emmy acceptance speeches are so political.
You know my theory?
Yes, is because
say it.
Is because many of these Hollywood individuals yearn for greater purpose.
Right. That's right. They think their lives are meaningless.
Yes.
See, Johnny Carson didn't think his life was meaningless.
And their lives are not meaning. They are doing a huge service by bringing us joy. To your point.
I value the work of actors more than they do.
Yes.
If they valued their work, they wouldn't think they also had to be political pundits.
Well, this is
like the Robert De Niro, who I mean, all I read is how he goes literally from show to show saying "F Donald Trump" and uses the word. That is so. Robert De Niro's acting has now. He's an idiot. I do believe Robert De Niro is an idiot, but and that's an achievement. There are not many idiots, and he believes he doesn't understand. He will be remembered for F Donald Trump, not for his acting.
Yes. Well, this is something that you have done throughout your career spectacularly well, and it has made a great impact on me, and it's something that I'm trying to replicate with my hopefully burgeoning talk show hosting career. And it's that when I started this, I told myself that I was not going to make myself a one-trick pony. In other words, I was not going to get up there and every single day just talk about politics. And of course, a lot of Timeless, and of course, some of Dennis and Julie, we do go into the realm of the political, and that's okay. But you are so great because you do happiness hour, you do male-female hour, you wrote a book on happiness. Look at all the varied topics that we do on this show. Look at what we were just talking about with the differences in accents around the country. I have really tried to, on my show and outside of the show, read a great variety of books and like sort of expose myself to all of the different things that life has to offer. Because now when you go not just to the political pundits, but to your point, to actors and actresses, everywhere you go, it's politics. You can't get away from it.
That's right.
And so I try to provide myself and others a little bit of a respite from that with the random topics that I discuss, because we have to be able to make ourselves varied people outside of the political.
I reported on my radio show just this past week a major NFL player, a National Football League player. He's with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions. He's their kicker. He's a big star. And he's Roman Catholic, and he was invited, oddly enough, to give the commencement address at a Catholic college in Kansas. And yeah, all right, play a little of the clip. It's rare we do, but it's
I'm
worthy
so sorry.
here.
I won't be able to hear it.
Oh, that's true.
Well, we could turn on the speaker.
Yeah, that's true too. There are many truths. You see that? I have a truth. Julie has a truth. All right, give it a try. Go ahead, Sean.
And poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally.
If you're still waiting to buy gold, sitting on the sidelines could cost you precious gains. Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion, my choice for precious metals. The current economic climate could make buying gold a very desirable safe haven commodity. The government's overprinting of money, the fluctuation of interest rates, and high inflation can impact the value of gold, and why you should seriously consider buying now. I've been working with AmFed Coin and Bullion's owner, Nick Rovich, for years, and I'm glad that I jumped into the precious metals market when I did. Nick's been in the industry for over 42 years, and he's proud of providing transparency and fair pricing to build long-term relationships. Nick and his team always have my back. They will have yours. They recommend what is in my best interest, not theirs. And I never worry about hidden commissions or huge markups. If you're interested in buying or selling, call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review, 800-221-7694, AmericanFederal.com, AmericanFederal.com. All right, leave it there. Okay, so which is, it is delusional. I'm not a Catholic, but it strikes me as delusional. It is like the Jews who, as a Jew, I support the people who want to exterminate Israel. We have a lot of sickos. Okay, but so I'm mentioning this. Why am I mentioning this? Because, oh yes. So the NFL, the guy gives a Catholic speech as a Catholic at a Catholic college. So why does the NFL feel it necessary to comment on this? They go, he doesn't represent National Football League values. Wait a minute, the National Football League has values? The only value of the National Football League should be to produce as honest and good a game of football as possible. That is what sports is for. That's a great value, where we are depoliticizing our sport so that conservatives and liberals, leftists and rightists, Jews, Catholics, Protestants and atheists can all cheer for their team, which is the way it was always in America till the left took over the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball.
I have so much to say on this. We have no boundaries in society now. I think I remarked this recently, or maybe the last episode of Dennis and Julie, but look at what's taught in schools. We used to understand that you went to school to learn how to read, how to do math, to learn about science, and then you went home, and then there were other realms of life that your parents taught you about. Now that's all blended. Look at journalists and the way that they do activist reporting. Journalists used to understand that it was their vocation to provide objective facts, and then you, the reader, figured out your opinion based on those objective facts. Or if you want opinion, you go to
the opinion page.
That's right. Exactly. The NFL used to understand that it had one job: to put on great football games,
right?
Et cetera, et cetera. But all of this is blended now. I remember when I was in college, and everybody knows that my whole political awakening took place during Black Lives Matter. And one of the things that I'll never forget about that time was that everyone had to make a statement. It was demanded of everyone to do these Maoist self-criticism sessions for their white privilege. And I remember being on Instagram during that time and seeing the Harvard softball team release a statement saying, "We stand with Black Lives Matter again." And I'm thinking, what the bleep does the Harvard softball team?
Well,
why do they have to make
my first reaction? You could ask Sue. I said, Sue, I really want to know what the Harvard softball team thinks.
Well, it wasn't just the softball; it was every single sports team, even like the robotics club.
That's the NFL example.
What is the
that's
robotic?
Right. It's all. That's right. Well, that is what the left has done. There are no, as you excellently put it, there are no boundaries.
No boundaries.
By the way, there really are no boundaries. The country has no boundaries as far as the left is concerned. Sex has no boundaries. Oh, it's non-binary. There are no boundaries.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. Well, you write in the first few pages of Genesis, your Torah commentary, literally, what is the first thing that God does? Mm-hmm. He creates distinctions.
Yeah.
And that is the first act of God.
Right after creation. That's the first thing
right
he does.
That,
as soon as the world is created, that's the first thing.
But that shows how significant
it's everything.
Distinctions are.
It's everything. Do you know that the word for holy in Hebrew, well, you wouldn't know.
I actually
don't
might,
expect. All right, you
having
might.
read so much.
Oh, that's fair enough.
I know bara is to create.
That's impressive. Seriously.
I know bris is a circumcision.
Right.
Shall I go on? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You know Shabbat Shalom.
That's right.
So the word, the biblical Hebrew word, it's modern Hebrew too. The Hebrew word for holy means separate.
Really?
Yes.
I love that.
I know you. So here,
that is so cool.
You ready? Leviticus 19, and God said, "Be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." What he said was to the Israelites, "You be separate, because I am separate."
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That reminds me of that, and I think this is so cool too. That the meaning of the word Israel is to struggle with God.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big deal.
That is really cool.
The first Jew argues with God. I mean, it's a sustained argument. It's not. It's a bunch of verses.
Yes, but on this point of no distinctions, I was actually talking about this recently with a friend. The way that right now, if you publicly proclaim a certain value, then you're good in the eyes of the left. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter even if you act in a complete opposite way of that proclaimed value. And so we see this with, people who talk about defunding the police. And I, trust me, I see this in a lot of affluent parts of Los Angeles, that some of the most, the biggest proponents of defunding the police live behind gates.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the way that you've been treated, where because you opposed the changing of the definition of marriage, that's what people judge you on.
Right.
Even though the way that you treat gay people is you treat them like you treat everybody. But that's another example.
And they're rather deep in my life. I mean, this is not tangential meetings.
But that's just another example of the blurring of boundaries and almost like the inversion of distinctions. Like everything is very much off kilter. That's
right. Off kilter. Well, that was what the guy said. Disorder. That's the word. Disorder. So I don't know if I've said this to you. I hope I haven't, but I probably did. So my view is the most important sentence in the Bible is Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Because if that didn't happen, then why bother with anything else? Okay. But I believe that verse 2 is the second most important. Have I told you this?
No.
Oh, you'll love this. What is the second verse of the Bible? And all was null and void. In other words, chaos. You must understand that what God did and what the Torah did and then what Christianity continued taking the Torah to the world is brought order to chaos. Chaos is the natural state of the world. Moral chaos and every other form of chaos. And what the left is doing, as I said, we're not in a post-Christian age. We're in a pre-biblical age. We have reverted to paganism. We're not moving forward to some new beliefs. We're moving backward to 3,000, 5,000-year-old beliefs, and that's chaos.
You're so right.
Yeah.
I was just reading, the Epoch Times had a very interesting article about how more and more nations are giving nature human rights.
Yes.
Like Ecuador, the Constitution of Ecuador has a line in it that I think gives one of the main rivers like human rights. I did something on my show about this, and then now.
Oh, really? So it's beyond animals now. It's actually gone.
And
a river has rights.
Yes, I can pull it up, or I would pull it up if we had time. But in Ireland, there's this movement to give nature human rights. Mm-hmm. Rivers and trees and all that is totally in support of your point that we're going to a pre-biblical age. It is. You're right.
Yes,
and isn't it amazing too? Like, this is something I think about all the time. We are now in the 21st century at a point in history where we should be the most enlightened, healthy group of people to ever exist, because we are the beneficiaries of thousands of years of human civilization that we are now in a unique position to understand because of technology. We can go and read, I mean, look at all of the resources we have, the manuscripts that are digitized, and you can order books and get them at your doorstep the next morning. You can go online and learn just about anything. We have this vast repository of information about the past, which is basically just manuals on how human beings have lived and navigated life circumstances and how we can do it the best way. And despite that advantage, to your point, we're reverting.
That's right.
It's an incredible thing.
I'm still reveling, though. It's worthy. We don't have to have it now, but I have to think this through, that rivers have rights. That we see,
crazy.
The notion that we have obligations vis-a-vis a river,
right,
but that's not an obligation to the river. The river has no rights. The river has no consciousness. The river is not an issue. The issue is, if I pollute a river, it's bad for people. I get that and I support that, but the idea that the river has rights. That's a perfect example you're giving of pre-biblical.
Well, I'll tell you something kind of scary.
By the way, the Nile in Egypt was worshipped. That's why the first plague is against the Nile. It's blood.
Wow.
It turned the Nile into blood. Whether you believe it or not, the point is, as I point out in my Exodus commentary, all the 10 plagues were against 10 gods of Egypt.
I'll tell you something a little scary, though it won't surprise you. As you were speaking and you were lamenting how absurd it is that a river would have rights, I was thinking about how a lot of people my age would react.
They would resonate to it.
I think a lot of people would ask you why it's ridiculous.
That's right. I agree with you. They would.
And that just shows
right.
how. And by the way, there would probably be a point in my life before. I'm not like wagging the finger here. There was a point in my life where I probably would have asked that question.
That's fascinating.
At the end of high school,
by the way,
I would have.
if rivers have rights, then clearly we should apologize to rivers.
No, the whole
Right? If I violated your rights, I owe you an apology.
It is staggering how absurd.
Yes, and by the way, it all flows. It is the most famous young environmentalist activist, Greta Thunberg, is a massive pro-Hamas agitator.
Yes. So you, before the show, you were gonna, or actually starting the show, you said you were gonna bring up something serious. Was it the Mao thing?
Yeah.
Do you want to say that? Because
why?
Because I think it may relate to this.
Well,
I didn't read the news story. But
yes, so it's a story. It was covered in the Daily Mail, but I'm sure elsewhere as well. A Chinese woman who fled to America, says she, and normally when people use PTSD, unless they really went through trauma, I think they're overstating it.
Oh, yeah.
But in this case, I thought that it makes sense. She lived through the Cultural Revolution in what Mao did in the 1950s.
Which few people know about.
Naturally, people don't know about evil. That's why they call what isn't evil, evil. America, Israel. They don't know real evil. They don't know Auschwitz. They don't know Gulag. They don't know Pol Pot. They don't know Mao. They don't know the Ukrainian famine. They don't know anything. It's frightening. It's actually scary. So this woman said, watching the American campuses today is traumatizing. And by the way, you have a right to be traumatized. I have called these students who are screaming on behalf of those who wish to exterminate Israel, and that is what they're screaming on behalf of. If they could live in denial, but Hamas, its charter is we wish to annihilate the state of Israel. Okay, and the Jews in it. These kids, I say they are our version of the communist and the fascist youth leagues, the Hitler Youth and the Komsomol, and they are. And that's what we have produced. You know, I had a question. Maybe you could offer it would be a guess on your part too, obviously, but it might be a more informed guess than mine. Do you think that that most of the parents of the kids making a pro-Palestine, Israel-hating and America-hating encampment, do you think they're proud of their kid? One of the most fascinating things I've done, perhaps ever done, is getting a brain SPECT scan. I went to the best-selling author, Dr. Daniel Amen, at Amen Clinics. They're known as just about the best brain and mental health company. Most psychiatrists have to guess what your problems are. Now, they're intelligent guesses, but they're guesses. Amen Clinics treats a variety of mental health issues, but actually looks at the organ it treats, the brain. You can get 10% off an Amen Clinics evaluation. Go to Amen Clinics, A-M-E-N, amenclinics.com/Dennis. Talking to Dr. Amen about my brain health was quite informative, and in my case, thank God, very optimistic. I see why looking at the brain before treatment is so important to getting the right care, and how it supports targeted treatment for conditions like ADD, depression, memory, and more. Visit amenclinics.com/Dennis to learn more about their brain-based approach to mental health. Or call 844-256-7266. That's 844-256-7266. And get 10% off by using the code Dennis10. Do you think that that most of the parents of the kids making a pro-Palestine, Israel-hating and America-hating encampment, do you think they're proud of their kid?
You know, it's really hard to tell because I don't really know I'm not close enough to those absolutely insane people to know. I don't know if their parents would necessarily be proud of them, but I think they're neutral. Or I think many of the parents would say, oh, their kid is going through a phase. In other words, I don't think they understand.
All right, so that's where you are helpful. That's interesting.
They wouldn't understand the gravity of it.
Uh-huh.
That I can say with close to certainty. I don't know that many of them would be proud, but actually I think what's worse is that they'd kind of go like, oh yeah, my child is just a wokenite, and they'll
I don't think they'd say woke. Once they'd say woke, I think
they would say woke. I think they would think, oh, college kids these days, it's the equivalent of dyeing their hair, which they probably also have, but
so they're in denial about what a piece of crap their kid turned out to be.
I think they're in denial about how serious it is, and how it's not just like dyeing your hair. My original, I want to talk a serious point, was about this Chinese American woman. Yeah.
But I really want to go in this direction right now. We could return to her.
Sure.
So I always ask myself, I say, well, how, Dennis, would you react if if you were involved in situation X, Y, or Z.
Right.
So if my kid were part of this encampment, well, obviously I wouldn't be proud. I would be mortifiedly, if there's such a word, ashamed. But I would let my kid know I'm ashamed of you. That's, and very few parents are prepared to do that. They so want their kid to love them no matter what, that they won't say, I can't believe that you grew up in a home of decency and became so indecent.
You know, this is really important, because I do know some parents who have woke kids, and they will talk to me and they'll say like, oh, good for you, Julie, or love listening to you. I wish my daughter would listen to you more. I wish my son would listen to you more. And I don't think, and when I'm talking about woke kids, I'm talking about like really, really woke kids. And I don't think they realize what a serious thing it is that their child is doing.
They don't want to realize.
Yes. Like I know this one person who's in her teens, and she is really, really woke. She's like, protect trans kids and free.
Well, we're all for protecting trans kids.
Yeah, but
wait, forgive me.
No, it's fine.
Don't forget one iota what you were about to say.
I will
Is
not.
it clear? Okay.
Yeah.
We are protecting trans kids.
Of course. Oh,
no. But you know that. But I want everyone to hear. The left is ruining trans kids.
Such an important
We
point.
are protecting them against your scummy breast removal and hormone blockers. You are ruining trans kids. You and only you on earth. America is the last man standing ruining trans kids. Britain, Germany, France, none of them are doing this. So I just want to know, the conservatives are protecting trans kids. The left are ruining their lives, just for the record.
No, I'm so glad you said it, because it also relates to our point about the lack of boundaries and distinctions. And I've noticed this, that not only is there a lack of boundaries and distinctions, but things are inverted as a result. They claim to be protecting trans kids. We're the ones protecting trans kids.
Yes.
They claim to be anti-racist. They're racist.
That's right.
They claim to be tolerant. Yes. They're intolerant. Like literally everything is inverted. Men are women,
and
women are men.
All was chaos.
It's
verse 2.
But isn't
this
that
is
amazing?
The example.
It's not just like, when I picture chaos, I picture like just I picture modern art. I picture like a huge
picture.
canvas of
or modern
splattered
music.
crap on it. Yes, we have chaos, but this point I'm making is really important. It's actually a little different than chaos. It's reversal. Things are inverted, and that's weird to me. To give the examples again, they say that they are protecting trans kids. They are doing the opposite of protecting trans kids.
Right. So you were going to make the point, though. I interrupted to say.
Oh, about the woke.
Yes. So
daughter.
The daughter.
Okay.
We're woke. We're protecting trans kids. That's when I interrupted. But it was important to note, the woke are hurting them.
Yes. It's an inversion. Okay, so I was talking about that kid in her teens. She is really brainwashed, this girl, and I can think of other. I mean, severely brainwashed, and it affects the way that she lives her life. She lives her life as sort of like, she claims that she has ADD, and she really doesn't. Like, it's cool now to have a mental illness, and she goes about her life and she's like, I have ADD and I'm like, do you understand the kind of fad I'm talking about? Because people, like young people now, it's cool to like be unhinged. It's cool to say that you have some kind of, because it's the victim stuff. And so this girl like walks around her life. She claims to have ADHD and she doesn't. She wears a mask still. Oh,
you know her?
Yes, from afar.
Oh,
yes.
That's fascinating.
From afar. And she, I could give other examples. She's very like political, goes to protests, goes to rallies. And
anyway, we were talking about the parents.
I know, I'm saying her parents sort of lament it to me, but they sort of do it, they sort of say it in a way of like, oh, like, it's so crazy, but like she'll get through it. The kids these days kind of thing. And what I want to say to them is, no, it's not kids these days. Like this is really in another category. Because when you were young, how did people rebel? Like they dyed, seriously, like they dyed their hair, they got piercings,
yes,
like,
right.
Okay, yeah, every kid rebels.
Right.
But wouldn't you agree that this is in a totally different category of rebellion?
Well, because this is a rebellion against moral norms. That was a rebellion against cultural norms. There's a very big difference. Dyeing my hair purple so the cultural norm is not to have purple hair. Okay, who cares? But moral norms, that was not, nobody went around, I mean, there were no demonstrations on behalf of a terror against Israel. I mean, that didn't exist. The moral norm rebellion did begin with the attacks on America, spelling, at my campus at Columbia, they spelled America with a K.
Yeah.
Meaning that's the way the German spells it. It's a fascist country. That's when the 60s inaugurated moral revolution, not cultural revolution.
Well, I want to ask, I mean, do you think it's different and worse today? Because I'm saying it is.
Oh, it is.
But,
I mean, well, look, I mean, nobody said if any kid who demonstrated that America was fascist, but if asked, how many sexes are there, would say 2.
You're right. Well, it sort of goes back to the point that we were making earlier about everything becoming political, like the NFL making a statement about that guy's speech, or the Harvard softball team making a statement about BLM. These, like, the political with many of these activists is not just one facet of them. It's literally the entire thing. Their gender has been changed. They wear masks. The way that they, like, every facet of their life is infected by this leftism. And that, I think, is totally different. Because to your point, in the 60s when people were saying America with a K.
It's your point, no boundaries.
But that is a really severe thing. I mean, what I would say to these parents is like, I'm sorry.
But I want to get back to the parents. You see, what I said to you, I would say to my kid, you've developed into a lamentable human being. It is very painful. I have love for my child. It's built into every parent, but I got to tell you, you have become shameful. And somebody has to tell them this. There's no one in their life saying what they have become.
See, I'm going to kick it up a notch. I don't think it's just shameful. I honestly think it goes into the realm of mental illness for some people. I mean, certainly with the gender stuff, it does.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the anti-America, anti-Israel encampments. If your kid were a part of that encampment, or during 2020, 2021, no, 2021, not 2020, it was part of Chaz in Seattle.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I think a lot of these people who are in these encampments, they're wearing masks. Some of them identify
they're wearing
as not
masks. No, that's not the health part.
I see that some of them are wearing N95s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not just keffiyehs, but they're wearing N95s.
You're sick. A regular mask is because you're a coward.
Yes. Oh, well, absolutely. They don't want to show their faces.
By the way, they want, that there is legislation passed. It was passed against the KKK. That a group of people outdoors cannot be wearing masks.
But what I just said may sound really dramatic, but I don't think it is. I think we tend to treat some of these insanely woke people as just politically brainwashed. But I, honest to God, think there's a component of mental illness there. Certainly emotional regulation problems. If you are offended by a person with an American flag, or if you are offended by someone who, like, I don't know, says something that you politically disagree with, and you freak out or you leave, that is an emotional regulation problem. That is not just a political brainwash problem.
Right, but I don't know if it's a mental illness. It is an emotional regulation problem. I agree with you. See, once we say it's mental illness, then we're sort of excusing them. Then if I'm mentally ill, then I can't, theoretically think straight.
It's a good point. You're right. I think that we need to hold them more responsible for their behavior. But at the same time, a lot of these people have been so severely brainwashed. I don't know. I'm kind of two minds about this. I blame them, and I.
Okay, so was a good chunk of the German population, certainly not all.
It's true. You're right.
Were they mentally ill? I don't think they were mentally ill.
You're right.
I don't think Goebbels was. I don't know about Hitler, but it doesn't matter. It's an interesting question. In any event, do you hold? At what point do mental issues exonerate the crime? Because people claim, not guilty on the count of insanity. It's a very, it's an interesting question. So you know my autistic stepson, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And he has as good a functioning of the conscience as
he does.
Any non-autistic human being. Now,
he has Sue as his mom.
That's right. I agree with you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but clearly, I mean, he obviously. He doesn't think as clearly as you and I. He's autistic. He lives with us because he can't take care of himself.
Right.
I mean, he can shower and bathe and use the facilities and so on. I don't want to imply he's worse than he is, but he can't live on his own. He can't.
Right.
Okay. So, yet his moral clarity is far greater than that of the Harvard encampment student.
But I think that's because Sue is his mom.
Okay. But it means more than that. It means that the notion that mental illness automatically means your conscience is broken and you become a despicable human being who loves evil, I don't buy it. I'll acknowledge there is. It's funny, and that's not funny, but it's interesting. When I hear about men who molest children. So I'm a man. I'm as normal a male as exists. So it's part of the reason I can explain males, because I'm a normal male.
Right.
And I know what animates male sexuality, and I know what animates men vis-a-vis women, and for that matter, even gay. I'm not attracted to men, but I get gay men because a man is a man. I don't get it. If you are attracted, forget that you molest. If you're just attracted to a prepubescent human being, you're definitely sick. There's no question. There is one of the rare instances. I don't excuse what they've done, and I believe they should be punished to the full extent of the law. I don't agree with by version of insanity or reason of insanity, but I do acknowledge there's a normal male. A normal male can commit adultery. A normal male can attend an orgy. A normal male can do a whole host of things, but not be attracted to a prepubescent human being. That is sick. Are you ready to lose weight but not sure where to start? Well, let me tell you about PhD, weight loss and nutrition. First, Dr. Ashley Lucas has her PhD in chronic disease and sports nutrition. So the program is science-based. The PhD program starts with nutrition, but it's a lot more. They know that 90% of permanent change comes from the mind, and they work on eliminating the reasons you might have gained the weight in the first place. There are no shortcuts, no pills, no injections, just solid, science-based nutrition and behavior change. If you're ready to lose weight for the last time, call 864-644-1900. to get started, or go online at myphdweightloss.com. Do what I did and just make the appointment for your one-on-one consultation. Call now. That's 864-644-1900.
Well, no, it's a really, really tough one because I, like you, want to hold these despicable people to account who are burning the American flag and are chanting death to him. I mean, that is evil. I think maybe in this discussion, you and I have been picturing different people, and you clarified a few minutes ago with the people in the encampments. Again, it's so hard to know where to draw the line, but I see a lot of teenagers or people in their early 20s, the mask wearers, the non-binary identifiers, the blue hair people.
Right, but these aren't the encampment people.
Well, some of them are.
Some of them are. Yeah, I agree.
And so it's really hard to draw that line. But I do think, like, when I see one of these individuals who's again wearing the N95 and is identifying as non-binary, I don't put them in the category of the anti-Vietnam protesters of the 60s. Or I don't even put them in the category of the BLM marchers in 2020. I think with some people, we have truly, in recent years, and a lot of it has been the gender stuff, entered a totally new category here. Again, of not just political brainwash, but true mental illness. And I see some of these people, and some of them are in the encampment, some of them are not, but they're walking mentally ill people. And nobody's really kind of calling it out.
Yeah, well,
it's a real sad problem.
If they aren't non-binary, and I suspect the vast majority are binary, in other words, they identify as a male or a female, they're cisgender, to use their term. I don't think that mental illness is the. I think it is with regard to the trans issue, but I think that's a different issue. I think these kids are just bad. They're bad human beings. They were rendered bad by teachers and in some cases parents, and by society, and by their own desire to to fill the utter emptiness of their nothing lives with some cause. And there's the cause du jour is now Palestine. That's the cause du jour. They could basically not find it on a map.
I know.
To speak figuratively.
What river and what sea?
Oh,
they have no idea.
That's exactly right. Do they know? It would be worth asking them, how big is Israel? It would be a fun question to ask any of these Israel-hating demonstrators, just out of curiosity. How big is Israel? Do they
Smaller
know it's the
think.
size of New Jersey?
I know. No, they don't. I mean, if people even who aren't so radical don't know that.
How about there were 22 Arab states and 52 Muslim states. Is there room on earth for one Jewish state?
You know, I wonder whatever it is, I really wonder how we're going to even start to undo this. Because at the risk...
The one way is you get the cops in to get them off the ground.
No. I'm sort of talking on a more macro level.
I think that's a macro level. I think if they understand society has contempt for you, they're not told that. They think, and they're right to think, that the New York Times admires them, that CNN admires them, that their college goddamn president admires them. Oh, they don't know that it is macro. It's completely macro.
You're right.
They think they're heroes because everything around them tells them they're a hero, including their college president and their college and their newspaper and the college newspaper. They're surrounded by people who think they're heroic, except in Florida. I'm not joking.
I know you're not joking.
In Florida, in 17 minutes, the cops come and clear your encampment. 17 minutes it takes.
You know, you and I talk all the time about how we have a moral responsibility to
By the way, just for those who are offended by the term goddamn, a word.
Oh.
I don't understand why it's an offensive term. I hope God damns these people, just for the record. If God doesn't damn evil people, I am an atheist, for the record.
Yep. Oh, gosh. Bingo. Forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I've actually gotten emails about the goddamn thing. I'm glad that you.
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
Offense, it's like okay.
I don't understand it.
There are bigger issues than
if
someone
somebody
saying
says,
goddamn.
if somebody, I'm just curious. You're a Christian tortured by communists in Romania, which is what they did. And somebody says, I hope God damns their torturers.
I know.
Is that a bad term? I don't understand why hell is a bad word. Why do people say heck? Thank God there's a hell.
Also, even if it's a bad word, let it go. Who cares?
No, okay, but fine. But I don't
issues.
understand why it's a bad word.
Right.
Now, you can use it badly. You could say, may God damn or a good person. That's using God's name in vain. But where you're using God to damn the evil, what am I supposed to wish? God bless the evil? Then what is he going to do with the good?
Mm-hmm. I'm just writing down what I was going to say because I don't want to forget.
That's a good idea, actually.
I know, that's why I keep this right here.
Yeah.
We used to do this a few months ago. You used to have one too, because things go so fast here. But I remember what I was going to say, which is that you and I talk a lot about how we have a moral responsibility to be optimistic. Or a moral responsibility
to fight. To fight and not to despair.
I'm glad you clarified. That's different than optimistic.
I say despair is a sin is one of my mottos.
That's right. So I want to just say that.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to kind of spiral and get very, bogged down in how bad things are. So I want to say that we do have a responsibility not to despair. However, what we're really facing right now in the United States, in my judgment, is that we're in a time not unlike the American Revolution and the Civil War, in the sense that we now have two totally incompatible views of what this country is and what this country should be. And yes, all throughout American history, we've had problems and fights, but think about it. Like during the time of the American Revolution, there were the people who wanted to have a country and then wanted to have a confederation or have, just autonomous states. Well, there were people who wanted a country and wanted to stay with Britain, two incompatible views. During the time of the Civil War, slavery versus non-slavery. We're kind of in a time like that now, where there are some people who want open borders, kids to be transed, defund the police, and that is as stark as the aforementioned differences. And so I think we need to kind of understand that we're in that moment now with these two incompatible views.
Oh, yes. I have a column. I just want to say that I wrote a column that the left-right divide is unbridgeable.
It is. It's really, I always use kind of the imagery of a Venn diagram. Both the left and the right had their differences, but we used to have a core set of values.
Well, because it wasn't left-right. It was conservative-liberal.
That's right. And now it's like two very separate circles.
That's right.
So that's
yes.
the first thing.
Right.
The second thing is you were talking about how you need to send in the police to show these people that society
what
is
they're doing is illegal and immoral. You can't take over a campus. I would say that for my cause. And by the way, our causes never do that. People who are pro-life are as passionately pro-life as the people who hate America and Israel or hate America and Israel. But we don't take over campuses.
No, it's so true. But I want to build on that point because someone, I think I've talked about this on Dennis and Julie, but someone, I feel like I should or shouldn't say who it is. Whatever. Clarence Thomas told me this.
Oh, I know why. By the way, I just want to tell everybody.
I know. I don't know whether to say
I know.
It was
you
him,
don't want to sound like a name dropper.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
It worked out because I'm very close to Clarence Thomas and his wife. That you got to visit with him.
Yes.
And I knew he would fall in love with you. And I knew you'd fall in love with him.
He is such a special person.
Oh, no, he is a giant. He is a giant among men.
And so this is...
By the way, he gives the PragerU commencement address. Every year we have a commencement
address. He's
address.
giving it this year?
Yeah, it's already given it. It's videoed. It's coming out any day.
That is a huge deal, Dennis.
It's
That's
a huge deal. Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But by the way, when I met with him, he said to me that whenever people ask him questions about society, or he always points them to PragerU videos. And then he referenced the PragerU video on inflation. He said that.
Do you know how Clarence Thomas and I met?
Yes, I do actually, but you should tell the audience.
No. I'll tell it afterwards.
Okay, well, you can see why I was hesitating because I don't want to name drop.
Yeah, you're not a name dropper.
But
Go ahead.
I think it is worth saying that he told me this. And it changed the way that I viewed society, sort of the malaise that we're in. He grew up on a farm. And he said to me, when I was growing up, if I didn't, if my grandfather told me to close the chicken coop, I had better tell my grandfather the truth if I closed or didn't close the chicken coop, because the next day it would be abundantly clear if I did or didn't do it, because a dog would come in and eat the chickens. Or he said, growing up, if I didn't plant seeds, then, in 3 weeks' time, there would be evidence that no crops grew. In other words, in real life, honesty is not just a virtue, it is a requirement. But what he was saying is that a lot of the malaise that we're seeing now is concocted in classrooms and boardrooms. Like it is so academic and so removed from the realities of real life to pontificate about how there may not be only two genders or how you could defund the police. Like that shows such a stark lack of connection with the way the real world works. And I think that's part of the problem and maybe part of the solution, where these crazy kids, they need to go work on a farm, or they need to go have a real job where you can't identify as if you did or didn't do something. You can't say that punctuality is white supremacy. You show up to your damn job on time or you get effing fired, because that's the way the real world works. But I hope this is making sense, but I think going and just working, with the way Clarence did it specifically, working on a farm where
the consequences are obvious.
The consequences are obvious, and the rules of the world are the most applicable. The rules of the world aren't applicable in your Palestine encampments or in your classroom, or you're writing some BS essay about colonialism. These people need to get in the real world and see reality, not their crazy concocted academic reality. But I just wanted to give Justice Thomas, and I should have called him Justice Thomas and not Clarence. I would hope we were close enough where I could call him by his first name, but I should have called him Justice Thomas. But I want to give him credit for opening me up to that, because I realized how right he is. This insanity could only be concocted in boardrooms.
I want to tell people, because it so reflects on the type of man he is, how we met.
Yeah, tell that. It's a great story.
When was the Anita Hill hearing? Do you
90s, early 90s.
Early 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 35 years or 30 years ago, let's say. It's a long time. So I gave a speech at the Heritage Foundation at that time. Mm-hmm. In which I did what I had done on my radio show. I defended Clarence Thomas rather vigorously. That's when I came up, by the way. I don't know if you know this. You know my concept of the moral bank account?
Yes,
I love
that.
It's a very wonderful concept. Everybody has a moral bank account like they have a monetary bank account. Your good deeds are deposits, your bad deeds are withdrawals. So I spoke about how he had a great moral bank account, and that mattered to me. So if he said pubic hair at a lunch with a woman, first of all, let's say he did. I don't believe he did, but let's say he did. That's proof of the thousands of proofs that feminism has made weak women, not strong women. If a woman is crushed hearing the words pubic hair, she's really weak. It's almost pathetic. Okay, just note that. But anyway, so I defended him at this speech at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, and it was on C-SPAN.
Yeah, C-SPAN.
Yeah, it was on C-SPAN. He saw it, and he contacted C-SPAN, and they gave him how to contact me, and he called me to thank me. I thought, that never happened in my life. that some public figure has thanked me for defending them. I've been doing this all of my public life. And it was such a sweet gesture, because gratitude is a beautiful trait. And anyway, the rest is history. We got very close.
I love and use all kinds of MyPillow products, and right now MyPillow is having a huge $25 extravaganza. When MyPillow started, it was just a one-product company, but now they have hundreds of products, some of which you may not even know about. To get the word out, we invite you, our listeners, to check out their $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows for just $25. MyPillow sandals for $25. Their 6-pack towel sets for $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels for, you guessed it, just $25. And the first time ever, the premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. Orders over $75 will receive free shipping too. And this offer won't last long. So go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Hartman, or call 1-800-566-6745 today and use the promo code Hartman. I just have to say, and I don't claim to know him well at all, and I hesitate to bring up...
You know him well if you're with him for an hour.
I was with him for 2 hours.
Oh, then you know him very well.
He is a giant of a man.
Total.
He is not only an intellectual giant, but meeting him personally. Yes. And again, I'm not trying to name drop. I'm not trying to claim I know him.
We know that.
But
you're right.
I have to say this.
On every level.
He's like living, like walking sunshine. And he has this magnificent, gregarious laugh. He was so kind to me. He gave me 2 hours of his time, rapt attention, looking at me right in the eye, asking all about me. No phone. He could have been like, oh yeah, well, welcome to the Supreme Court. I'll give you 5 minutes and then be on your merry way.
Right. And by the way, it's not, we'll say, well, young pretty woman. It was not, that's not the factor. I wasn't a young pretty woman. And I got the same treatment.
And we had the most interesting. We had talked about Paul John.
He's special.
He is a class act, an absolute class act.
That's right. That's correct.
And by the way, maybe this is a little too much to say, but whatever. I think it speaks very well of conservatism that he's a conservative. In other words, if such a person like that is conservative, then it indicates something about conservatism that such a person like that is conservative.
Ready, aim, fire.
Yeah.
We're nicer than those who hate us. Okay? Just for the record.
Totally.
Conservatives are nicer people. Not all. Deeper, there are really disgusting conservatives. Oh, deeper. Well, you can't be a deep leftist. You could be a deep liberal. You could be a deep conservative. You can't be a deep leftist. It's not possible. But just regular human decency. It's a happier, kinder, finer crowd, the conservative crowd, than the leftist crowd. I have spoken at hundreds upon hundreds of conservative events. Mm-hmm. And I always marvel that if there are mirror images, left-wing events, the absence of hatred. I always think about this when I'm at these events. I was at Moms for Liberty, okay? There's a notorious to the left. They hate Moms for Liberty. I was the keynote speaker in Philadelphia 2 years ago. And there was massive demonstrations against them that they're fascist, they're pro-Hitler, they're Nazis, all this. And I'm there for the entire dinner. There's no hatred. They say what they stand for. There's good-naturedness. There's very little yelling. If you go to a left-wing event, it's just hatred of Trump, of the right, of conservatives. It's a hate-filled world. They talk about hate, but they live it. We don't live it.
So I promise you this relates, but it's going to seem a little off topic. Today, Nellie Bowles was here in studio. Nellie Bowles is Barry Weiss's wife, and she has this new book. And we were chatting, and Dennis said to me, "Did you know that the New York Times called Barry Weiss Barry Weiss is a Nazi, according to the New York Times?" And the three of us were like saying,
the New York Times reported it.
I know, saying how absolutely insane that is. And what I said, just a few hours ago with the three of you. I said, well, when someone who you like approves of you, that's encouraging. But when someone you don't like disapproves of you, that's also encouraging.
Right.
And so I said, weirdly, if the New York Times is calling Barry Weiss a Nazi, then that's really good news because
Right. Well,
because
so it's a very old saying, actually. You could judge a man by his friends, and you could judge a man by his enemy.
But I would like to apply that to when I met Clarence Thomas, and I'd like to apply it to what you just said. When I met Clarence Thomas, I thought, okay, if I'm conservative, you're conservative. And if someone as fantastic and principled and gregarious and amazing as you thinks the way that I do, then I'm doing something right.
That's right.
That was a source of validation for me.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, and I haven't been to a mom's for...
That's why they don't want us on campuses. Because
Yes.
they're afraid if they actually meet us in the flesh,
That's right.
whoa, every single thing said about us will turn out to be a lie. The 37 or whatever professors at Arizona State University who said, don't go to hear Dennis Prager and Charlie Kirk because they're haters and they're bigots and they're this. They're so afraid of their students being subjected to us for an hour because we will confound everything they're told about us. We turn out to be bright. We're told they're told we're stupid. We turn out to be nice. We're told we're haters. Oh, they are correctly afraid of us showing up for 90 minutes on their campus.
I was surprised coming into I'm thinking back to the old me, and
I'll bet you were surprised.
I was never leftist, which is
I know,
really important
right,
to
but
know.
you were still surprised.
But I was surprised.
That's right.
I really, and I'm now so steeped in this world, which is so marvelous and fun, that I forget the initial kind of shock. And it's so fun. Like, they really do view conservatives as caricatures. As gun-toting, gay...
that's right. They paint caricatures.
Gun-toting, gay-hating, bigot-embodying people.
What is it? What was the Obama phrase? They cling to their Bible and
to
guns?
their Bibles and guns.
Yeah.
But this is a really, really important point because, again, when I met Clarence Thomas, it validated... I was like, okay, I'm on a right track if this person who I deeply admire thinks the way that I do. And I've never been to a Moms for Liberty event, but I've been to... I was giving a speech in Washington State. I gave another speech in Oklahoma. I've been to different Republican groups in the country. And every time I meet many of these individuals, and of course, as you said, yes, there are a-hole conservative, of course. Right. We have to always give these disclaimers.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, when I meet members of these groups, it is so validating for me because they are such kind, decent, principled people. And it's so yeah. That's my grand point.
It's a good point to end on.
Oh my God, we're done?
Yeah, believe it.
I think I say that every time. But.
Well, by the way, that's a good thing that you say that every time.
True.
Hey, if we're not having fun, how the hell is the listener going to have any fun?
That is true.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a very good piece of advice for being on the air.
Very good.
You've got to be having fun.
Yes. You know when I learned this? When I was in high school and college, and the teacher would be boring. And I remember thinking...
Yeah, it's so true.
Does he think he's interesting? And by the way, it's a continuous puzzle to me. Do boring people think they're interesting? I have no answer.
Good experiment.
Oh, it's a very good one. You'll love this. I hope I didn't tell you this, because if you hear it for the first time, you'll love it. When I began speaking at 21, so that's one of the reasons we relate to each other, because I was doing public things at your age. And at about 22, I was giving a speech. And as God is my witness, in the middle of my talk, I said to me, not out loud, obviously, to me, Dennis, you're boring me. And it changed my mode of speaking forever. Always I'm thinking, am I keeping me interested? I may have ADD, by the way. And by the way, if I do, it was a gift from God, because it is the biggest single reason that I'm interesting. Because I do not have a long attention span.
You don't.
I don't.
You really don't.
So I better be interesting to keep me interested. You better be interesting to keep me interested, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a gift that I don't have a big attention span, because then something really, same with my writing. People read what I write because it's relentlessly interesting. It's relentlessly interesting because when I read it for the 8th time, I better be interested.
And it's a gift for people speaking to you too, because thank God this doesn't happen often, but sometimes if I see you kind of like zoning out, that's when I know, okay, change topic. No, seriously, it's happening. Thank God it's so rare. But there have been times where I'll look at you and sometimes you'll go, and I'll go, okay, guess what I did last night? Like, I'll just totally change it. You can't hide it. You
can't
cannot
hide it.
hide it.
I agree.
But it's,
I
instead of being offended by it, I honestly take it as a gift. And again, thank God it doesn't happen often. May it not happen
That's
often.
correct. But it's all a comment on that you can't believe that today's podcast is over.
I know.
So that's
it's
a
so
good sign.
fun. It's so much fun. And obviously we always end with this little exchange.
You're going to tell people how to contact us because you don't fully believe that I could tell them.
I don't fully believe it.
I don't believe it either.
That's putting it mildly.
That makes two of us.
But I want to tell you all, I get the most amazing emails. I know we say this every time, and I got to actually do it. We really got to dedicate a D&J to the
I would
emails.
do a whole one with it. I think that's a great idea.
Speaking of the whole validation thing.
Yeah.
When I get emails from our listeners, that's how I know we're doing something good.
That's a big deal.
Because they are so thoughtful and decent.
That's right.
Anyway, please continue writing to me at julie@julie-hartman.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Julie R. Hartman.
It's Julie. I know I never commented. Julie-Hartman?
That's right.
Not Julie. Hartman.
Julie at
Julie-Hartman.
Hartman.com.
Why is it a dash?
Because juliehartman.com was taken by some...
Oh, how wrong. That is so wrong of them.
I just called some other Julie Hartman a biatch.
You know, I sort of, we can't let go, but I got to tell you, I was reading on the air, it happened utterly spontaneously just recently on my radio show. So I was reading a comment by somebody whose last name was Prager, which is exceedingly rare.
So rare, yes.
So, yes. And I commented out loud, I hope this person is a conservative. Because otherwise they're cursed.
Okay, I know we're going and going.
Can you imagine?
Dennis,
Yeah.
I wrote to you. I wrote to like
right. You wrote
7
to
of
every
you.
Prager on
When I
Earth.
tried to get in touch with Dennis, I found all these Dennis Pragers online.
Which I can't believe that there are more than
and
2.
someone wrote
Yeah.
back to me in all caps, I'm not the Dennis Prager you want.
Yeah, no, I
So
feel
he's a lib.
I feel for that person. I'm not joking.
Can you imagine being named Ben Shapiro?
Oh, yes, and there are a hell of a lot more Ben Shapiros than
I know,
Dennis Pragers.
I've met one.
Right.
Anyway, julie@julie-hartman.com, and you don't know your Instagram.
Well, because it's not the way to go. DennisPrager.com or
Okay.
PragerU.
Or at the Dennis Prager on Instagram and at Dennis Prager on Twitter. And Dennis and Julie is every Sunday right here on this YouTube channel at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern.
Bye,
Love
everybody.
being with you. Shalom.